So welcome to Explain This Easy, where we talk about the Czech Republic.
Yes, please.
And we have our expert here, who is an authentic Czech person. And as a foreigner living in Prague, I have noticed over the years there are actually more and more foreigners in Prague. Especially in the center of Prague, it's starting to look almost diverse, actually. So I'm wondering if you could tell us, from your perspective as a Czech person, what are the largest minority groups in the Czech Republic? Who is coming to the Czech Republic? Why are they coming? And how do Czechs feel about them?
Okay, I can definitely say something about that.
Let's do it.
So you mentioned Prague, but I want to actually do this like the whole country.
Okay.
So let's not just concentrate on Prague.
Fair enough.
Because there are many different cities and it could be different in the cities. For example, we got some Russian people.
Yeah.
Most of them are in the Karlovy Vary.
Yeah.
It's a well-known town for that.
Do you know why Karlovy Vary is so
Why
popular
Karlovy?
for the Russians specifically? Because it's very noticeable when you go there.
It's a good question. I know that they already bought some houses there and they're really living there. And usually it's like higher society, so they have enough money to buy a house for themselves, and they like the nature and town. So the more Russian people go there, the more Russian people they attract. So
Right,
that's
right,
the logic.
yeah.
Don't know
Sure.
when or how it started, but
Okay.
yeah. You can meet some other Russians or Ukrainians that are not as rich, so they would go here for a work, and they would do works like on the construction,
Manual labor.
Yeah, manual labor. Yeah, so not so well paid, but you can meet quite a lot of them.
And my question there, so Ukrainians and Russians, they're coming from a Slavic language group. Do most of them learn Czech pretty well when they're here? How well do they integrate in regards to the language? In general,
yeah.
every situation is different, but in general,
yeah. I have the feeling that they don't integrate so much because the higher society in Karlovy Vary, they have their own society, so they don't need to speak
and it's
Russian.
Russians. They don't need to speak Czech.
Yeah,
So
they don't need to speak
Russian-speaking
Czech,
communities.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And on the other hand, the
Laborers.
They have their own communities too, so they don't really need to speak so much Czech. And I don't want to oppose anybody, but it might not be like by the law, so they might be.
Maybe there's
working.
the possibility they're here
Yeah.
illegally.
Yeah,
Okay, so this might be something like.
I don't know that, but there's like general feelings of Czechs that this happens.
So it's something like Mexicans in the U.S. that it is a stereotype and it's probably not true. But if an American sees a Mexican worker, they might think, "Oh, I wonder if they're here legally." It's like Ukrainians in the Czech Republic. Okay.
Yeah, and together like with the construction, under the construction there could be also some gypsies, but that's like not a different nationality,
Right.
because the gypsies are integrated in Czech Republic, so you can meet them like normally, and they are total Czech.
They were
them.
born here, Czech passport.
Yeah,
They speak
yeah.
Czech. Yeah.
They speak Czech. They have a little bit different accent, so that might sound strange to you, but they're totally Czech. Yeah. But they have their like communities.
Okay.
And the other foreigners I can think of are definitely Vietnamese.
Yeah, which is probably surprising for many of our viewers
It could be
who haven't been
surprising.
here. It's in some areas it's the largest, like in the Western Czech Republic, it's the largest minority is
And
Vietnamese.
even in Prague, even in Prague,
There's
because the
a lot.
Vietnamese work really hard.
Yeah.
So they have these shops that are open sometimes 24 hours
Mhm.
a day, and Czechs don't like to work so hard. So after like 9 o'clock, every Czech shops are usually closed, and these like night shops with the basics.
Basic
items,
supplies, yeah.
supplies
Mm,
and food, they're always open, and there's so many of them.
Do you? I mean, I have some ideas about this, but do you know why there are so many Vietnamese people in the Czech Republic?
Yes, it's from the history.
Mm.
Like I think the communists had this idea that they will put the Vietnamese to our country for some time, and then they go back. But from some reason, like most of them stayed here.
Right.
I don't know the exact the historical reasons,
Mm.
but it was the idea to get them here, and they didn't get back. They actually started their families here.
Yeah.
And now there are many Vietnamese that are actually Czechs. So
Right.
if you say we're Vietnamese, it doesn't mean they are not Czechs.
Mm-hmm.
Like
They're born here.
all the ones will be most definitely Vietnamese.
But now it's the first generation of, we could say, Vietnamese Czech,
Yeah.
because ethnically they are Vietnamese,
Mhm.
but they're born here, they go to school here,
Yeah.
they have the citizenship, they're native
Mhm.
speakers of Czech.
So I would say usually below 30, it could be Czech.
Mhm.
And, above 30, it could be Vietnamese.
This is a more
In
complicated
general.
question, but
Mhm.
the Czech Republic is not a very diverse country.
Mhm.
Let's just say the vast majority of people are white. Even
Mhm.
a lot of the foreigners coming to live here are coming from Western countries.
from Europe.
But now I'm fascinated by this generation of Asian Czechs.
Mhm.
Do you have any perspective on how Czech people react to this idea that suddenly people who look different from them can actually be just as Czech as their own children or family? Is that a difficult concept? Are people still trying to get adjusted to that, or is it completely normal they meet an Asian person who speaks perfect Czech?
For me, it's normal, even though I don't have any friends like that.
Mm-hmm.
But I know that a lot of people disagree with that, Czech people,
Okay.
and they don't like the idea. And when they see, especially Vietnamese people, they always assume they would not speak Czech.
Okay.
But now it's really changing.
Mhm.
Past few
Very-
years,
very
it's
quickly.
changing a lot. So.
Mhm.
So I hope less and less people can think of that.
I think it can be a very positive development for the country of seeing this possibility of diversity, and the possibility of multiple ethnic groups living in one country. This is, I think, something really, really healthy.
Well, it's a good point. I have to just point out that not small amount of Czechs would disagree with you.
Yes.
And
I'm okay with
they
that.
would give you a million things to say that you don't have anyway to say that. Or
I would like to hear the reasons for saying that it's not
there would be
not a
lot of
good thing.
reasons.
Yeah.
So yeah, even though that we have more and more foreigners here, some Czechs are really conservative and they
Right.
don't like them here.
Right. I stand by my position, but I would like to hear the reasons for people who
But-
think that it's not
yeah,
a good development.
Yeah, but from my point of view, the Vietnamese are definitely the most welcoming people from all over all the other nationalities. They feel like they're-
The major nationalities that live in the Czech Republic. Yeah.
Yeah, and also we have some other ones, but I think these ones are the main ones.
Mm-hmm.
But there's one more. But for me, it's not a still different country, but it is different country. It's Slovak people from
Right.
Slovak Republic.
Right.
Because we were together. It's a thing. We were together. Now we're separate.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a really a lot of them,
Mm-hmm.
and they work here. They go here for better jobs,
Mm-hmm.
and they don't have to work here like for construction. They could be doctors. They could be anything.
Right. And I've started
And
to realize,
we have the best relationships with them.
Yeah.
I don't.
even though what's very interesting is I've started to realize many Slovak people who
Mhm.
live here
Mhm.
their whole lives, who
Mhm.
work as Czech people, who pay taxes to the Czech
Mhm.
Republic, often they still speak Slovak.
Mhm. Some of them.
Some of them. I have a few
Well-
colleagues here who are working in a completely
Mhm.
Czech environment, but when they make presentations or something, they'll speak Slovak. At first, I
Mhm.
thought, wow, why is it so difficult for me to understand this person? Because
Okay.
Czech and Slovak are very similar.
Like.
And for most Czech people, it's not a problem to understand
Mhm.
Slovak, but it is a different language.
Yeah, you just explained it yourself because the Slovak language is so close to the
Mhm.
Czech one. So if
Mhm.
he's got a presentation in Slovak, it's totally fine. We can understand him most of the words. But I understand that if you're a foreigner, it
Right.
could be difficult.
And I've heard that for young Czechs who didn't
Mhm.
grow up in an environment where the TV was often Czech and Slovak,
Mhm.
for the very
That's
young
also
Czechs, it
true.
becomes more
Mhm.
difficult.
Some.
But in some ways, it's almost a bilingual country. In
Mhm.
some ways, it's not presented that way and it's
Mhm.
not announced that way. But when I see some of my Slovak colleagues who work
Mhm.
completely comfortable using their own language in a Czech
Mhm.
environment, it's a very flexible environment.
Mhm.
I think it's kind of cool. If it works, then great.
Yeah, it's a little bit strange because officially we are divided.
Mm-hmm.
And like in the television there are like 99% is just
Mm-hmm.
Czech language,
Mm-hmm.
but when you go out and hear the people you can spot Slovaks like every day.
Mm-hmm. Mm. So most foreigners probably won't be able to identify Slovaks versus Czech. So it will look like everyone is
Mhm.
just Czech.
Yeah.
And unless you're really, really comfortable in Czech, you won't be able to say, oh, that person's speaking Slovak.
Mhm.
Like for me,
Mhm.
I can communicate in Czech, but when I hear a Slovak person, it sounds like Czech. It's just, I wonder why I can't understand this particular person speaking Czech. You know?
Right.
I think this is kind of probably the
Uh-huh.
more common reaction. So you might not notice them, but
Uh-huh.
there's a lot. Yeah,
Uh-huh.
yeah.
Uh-huh.
Especially in Brno and
Yeah.
Prague, but Brno because it's much closer.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think that covers it all. Of course, there are some other nationalities
Mhm.
that might be rising, but these ones are like the basic ones.
Mm. Well, and every nationality is, especially in Prague, every
Mhm.
nationality is represented
Yeah.
here, and
Yeah.
lots of people are
There's
moving here.
also diversity here.
Yeah.
Let's say.
Thank you, Michal. That's very, very useful to know the Czech perspective on the
Mhm.
minority groups here. If you have any other questions for Michal, definitely let us know in the comments.
Please ask.
Mhm.
And if you want to see more videos, just subscribe so you won't miss it.
You don't want to miss our videos. Then you won't have all the
If
important
you are
information.
interested in Czech Republic, you shouldn't miss it. Definitely.
Absolutely, you should
So
subscribe.
see you next time.
Thanks for watching.